Hosea 10:13, he says, "Ye have plowed wickedness, ye have reaped iniquity. Ye have eaten the fruit of lies, because thou didst trust in thy way and the multitude of thy mighty men." We covered the first phrase in that. We'll pick up with the phrase, he says, "Ye have eaten the fruit of lies." Every seed you plant produces something. Here, lies are going to produce fruit. In Proverbs 1:31, the Bible says, "Therefore shall they eat of the fruit of their own way, and be filled with their own devices." That's America. America is full of devices, and they call them that, a device. Your smartphone, I don't know how smart it is, but that overly engineered phone that they give everybody is a device. And you know what? All of these devices usually are connected to something wicked. There's lots of wickedness that goes on America's devices. Now, it's not necessarily the fault of the device. It's the fault of wicked hearts. However, all of these inventions just enable man to put his fingers on what he wants quicker. And that's wicked. Look at Proverbs 12. Proverbs 12, verse 19. It says, "The lip of truth shall be established forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment." It doesn't really do much good to say a lie, because usually a lie gets found out, and it gets found out much faster than you intended for it to. You intended it to always stay quiet and secret. Even if man never discovers the lie, there's coming a day we're all going to stand before the judgment, and the lies will be brought to light. And there, when we look back on our life, we'll have thought that was just for a moment. In light of eternity, that's true. Every life is just for a moment. And there all will be revealed. Look at Proverbs 18, verse 20. Proverbs 18:20. "A man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth." Satisfied? Yes, the fruit of some people's mouths is going to reap one day. If they would just pay attention to all the things that they're cursing, they're asking God to damn this and damn that. One day he may just actually do it. And they'll reap the fruit of what they've been suggesting. He says the rest of the verse, "And with the increase of his lips shall he be filled." So they say with a gun, don't point a gun at something you don't want to shoot. Well, that's a minor thing compared to this. Don't say something out of your mouth you don't want to come true. Look at Proverbs 18, next verse, verse 21. "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof." So say things that you've thought through. That's the big thing. Think before you speak. That's hard to do, but it's needed. Proverbs 19, verse 5. It says, "A false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that speaketh lies shall not escape." I just saw where Hillary's campaign manager has come forward saying that she signed off on the supposed leak to the news press about the Trump's whatever. And so that's just showing you lies eventually come out. If you speak a lie, you don't escape. The escape is simply the time you have before it comes to light, and that escape is miserable. Because a man is always thinking, I wonder if they're going to figure this out. He says they've made lies a refuge. That's not much of a refuge. Talk about being stressed out. That's what it is. He said back in our verse in Hosea, "Thou didst trust in thy way." Now that's opposed to his way. Jesus showed up and he says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." Okay, that's all positive things. So a man's way obviously is in opposition to his way. Look at it in Psalm 52. This is man's way. This is pure humanism. Psalm 52, verse 7. Lo, this is the man that made not God his strength, but trusted in the abundance of his riches, and strengthened himself in his wickedness. Man tries to do everything on his own. Part of being a Christian, being a Christian means you don't do anything on your own. Jesus Christ has to control it all. Getting saved, the very act of you getting saved was you said, I can't do this. And you gave up all of your working to earn eternal life over to Jesus Christ and what he did. Now, we should live every day the same way. We don't do anything. We move when he says move because he's going to give us the strength to do it. Look at Psalm 62. Psalm 62, verse 10. He says, trust not in oppression. That seems like an odd verse, doesn't it? Who would be trusting in oppression? Well, I guess if you were the oppressor, you would trust in it. But I think there's more to it than that. It's a mindset. Once you get used to oppression, you know what to trust. You know what's coming. You're used to that. We know a fella that didn't want to get his marriage fixed. I offered to help him. We'll meet at 6 o'clock in the morning, pick a day, and we'll pray. Nah, I didn't want to have anything to do with it. Toby offers to go over and see his wife. Nah, he didn't want any part of that. Okay, I know where this is heading. Okay, he's trusting in oppression. He's used to the turmoil that goes on. That's become old hat to him. Don't trust in that. He says, and become not vain in robbery. If riches increase, set not your heart upon them. That is, that's a big if. If riches increase, that won't be increasing for very long. Look at the stock market. Look at the housing market. Look at any market you want. It's just a matter of time before it goes bye-bye. Don't trust in that. Trust in something that's eternal, Jesus Christ. Amen. He says in our text in, where are we? Hosea 10, verse 13, he says, in the multitude of thy mighty men. That's having a great army. Having what seems to be impenetrable fortifications. Well, there's nothing that God can't knock down, without sweating. It's no great chore for God to destroy anything man builds. Look at the Tower of Babel. Those boys thought they had really done something. And he said, I can take care of this real easy. I don't even have to fight anybody. We'll just change their language. How about a simple little thing like that? And it destroys the whole project. Look at Psalm 33. Psalm 33, verse 16. He says, there is no king saved by the multitude of an host. Well, they sure thought they were. They thought, if I have a big enough and a mean enough army, that'll assure me to get anything I want. And on a human standpoint, we think that's the fact. Whoever's got the biggest guns and the most weapons wins, and usually that's so. But he says that's not what's really behind it, because there's a God who controls things. Look at all the wars that Israel has been involved in. They don't make sense for human standpoint.
That's right.
And many times they did not have the resources available, but they had a God. God took a keen interest in it. Look, the rest of the verse, he says, a mighty man is not delivered by much strength of the man. But if God delivers you, he's got all strength, because he's called the Almighty. Okay, that one will work. Ecclesiastes 9:11. Ecclesiastes 9:11. He says, I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift. That's the tortoise and the hare, or whatever that thing. Is that the way that went? Yeah. is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to men of understanding, nor yet favor to men of skill. But time and chance happeneth to them all. Now, I'm going to show you something with the book of Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes is Solomon when he's decided he's going to do everything from a human standpoint. He's going to seek wisdom and understanding and pleasure and everything from a human standpoint, not from God's. So you find verses in Ecclesiastes that you've got to really compare to the rest of the Bible to find out whose point of view you're looking at. Here he says, time and chance happeneth. Does chance happen to you? Not if you're saved. God happens to you. Now, God will allow you to get involved in certain things or not, but it's all at God's discretion. You know, a man can't even get involved in sin unless God opens the door for it. That's what Romans chapter 1 is all about. Because he wouldn't listen to me, I turned him over to this sin. And when that didn't work, I turned him over to this sin. It's God who's unlocking that door. A man doesn't have the power a man thinks he has. Hosea 10 verse 14.
Go into another verse.
Do what?
Go into another verse.
Hosea 10:14. Did I miss that verse?
No.
Oh, okay.
It was cool. We moved to another one.
Yeah, oh yeah. We're moving right along. We're going to be short tonight. I have to throw a little comedy in there every now and then. Hosea 10:14. Therefore shall a multitude arise amongst thy people. I didn't say, I read that wrong. It's not a multitude, a tumult. That is total chaos. That's the world we live in right now. I started to say that's America. It's not just America. It's every country. Now, it used to never be America. But, well, I say that. It's always been. If you go back to historically and start reading all of the scandals that went on from the inception of America right through, it's all been the same. It's always been the same. Now, it was not public knowledge. The public wasn't getting involved in all that. It was the bigwigs that had all the power and, the control. Of course, they've always had tumult. But the general population hasn't. Now it's getting to where it's out in the open and everybody's got an opinion, and I think that's the news media's fault. They put too much information out too quick. He says, therefore shall a tumult arise among thy people. What's the therefore in reference to? It's correct. The verse right before it. Reaping lies, plowing wickedness, trusting in mighty men. All of those things lead to this, a tumult. You see, it's the fruit of man trying to do something in his own power. When we try to do something in our own power, we don't realize what we're doing. We're fighting against God. God wants to do things for us, not us do them. Now, he won't come down and do it without you moving. He wants to do it through you, but he wants to be the one motivating it and moving it. So man on his own here, therefore shall a tumult arise among thy people, and all thy fortresses shall be spoiled, as Shalman spoiled Beth Arbah in the day of battle. The mother was dashed in pieces upon her children. Whew. That's sounding pretty tough. Now you can see a lot of that. That happens. That's what Assyria was known for. Assyria was known for being extremely cruel. And that was part of the shock and awe, was they wanted to scare people into submission before they stepped a foot on their property. Therefore, they didn't have to do any fighting. You could just show up and you were the big bad bully and everybody kowtowed. He says something in our verse here. He says, Shalman Shalman spoiled Beth Arbel. However you say that word. In the day of battle. So where was that? I don't know. Nobody knows for real. We can make some guesses at it. But here's the thing. You know, even in America, we didn't have a consistent spelling until 200 years ago. Everybody spelled phonetically. They spelled according to what something sounded like. And so you would have a difference in spelling from one area of town to the other, or nation. You know, Southerners say things a little different than the Yankees say them. And so we might spell them according to the way we say it. And so that's what I think we've got going on here. And if that's the case, we can find an answer for it. Let's go to, I'll get this all out of order. I'll come back to him. Let me cover something else first. I've jumped ahead of myself. First of all, let's talk about the tumult. The tumult arises and it divides. The reason for this is God is allowing this because he's planning to sneak attack his own people. So he's allowing them to get all involved in a bunch of things that don't really matter, so they're not looking when he comes in and attacks. And that's Israel. Israel started making arrangements with Egypt and then with Assyria. And they were playing one against the other, making a promise and breaking it to this one, making a promise and breaking it to that one. They were looking out for number one. And in the meantime, God says, none of you are looking at me. That's good. Here I come. And he showed up. Look at it in Hosea 13. Hosea 13:16. He says, Samaria shall become desolate, for she hath rebelled against her God. They shall fall by the sword, their infants shall be dashed in pieces, and their women with child shall be ripped up. Whew. That's Assyria coming in. Assyria comes in, and when they go against somebody, they're not just fighting the fighting men. Civilians are casualties as well. They consider nothing off limits. Look at Isaiah 22. Isaiah 22 verse 1. Here's this tumult. He's going to tell us in this passage, I'll read it to you, but he's going to tell us in this passage that Israel is all stirred up and worried about things that don't really matter. And what they should be aware of that's really bad, they have no clue of. Verse 1, the burden of the valley of vision. What aileth thee now that thou art wholly gone up to the housetops, that thou art full of stirs, that is, you're all stirred up. A tumultuous city, a city full of tumult. A joyous city. Sometimes it's happy and sometimes it's backbiting. Thy slain men are not slain with the sword, nor dead in battle. All thy rulers are fled together. They are bound by archers. All that are found in thee are bound together, which have fled from far. Therefore said I, look away from me, I will weep bitterly, labor not to comfort me, because of the spoiling of the daughter of my people. God says, I'm dropping people left and right, and I'm not doing it with battle. Have we seen some plagues in America doing that? Yeah, that's the way God works. He says, I'll stir up some problems that you don't have a clue about. And he can kill them with sword or without. It doesn't matter to him. Look at it in Amos 3. Amos 3 verse 8. Amos 3 verse 8. If you've been to the zoo, you've experienced this verse. He says, the lion hath roared, who will not fear? If you've ever been to a zoo or been around a lion when it sets off, that thing, just the sound of it is scary. But you know what lions do? It's the old lions that roar. It's the young lions that kill. The old lion is going to roar in order to make you run in a direction. And when you run in that direction, you're running right into the ambush. He says, the Lord hath spoken, who can but prophesy? And that's what the book is about. Look at Amos 9. Amos 9, verse 5. And the Lord God of hosts is he that toucheth the land, and it shall melt. And all they that dwell therein shall mourn, and shall rise up wholly like a flood, and shall be drowned as by the flood of Egypt. Now there was some flood that happened in Egypt. Or, see, we don't get all the details on some of these things. Some of these things are current events that were happening that they knew about there, that God didn't see fit to give us all the info on. We do know about Egypt that the Nile River always overflows its banks, and that's how they could live, because the nutrients would come up from the river and feed the ground. So it could be in reference to that. But he's saying that's the way I'm going to destroy them. I'm going to destroy them like a flood. And you find that flood happens in Revelation 13. Now back to Shalman, or however you said that word. How do we say that word? Shalman. Shalman. That's probably Shalmaneser. Let me get to my spot now that I did everything out of order. Shalman spoiled Beth Arbel in the day of battle. This is probably Assyria coming in and cleaning house. It'll be in 2 Kings 17:3 if this indeed is who it is. 2 Kings 17:3. Against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Assyria. Now that could just be a different spelling. I don't know. A lot of things I'm dogmatic on. I'm more dogmatic on most things than most people are. But here's a case I don't know. And Hosea became his servant and gave him presents. Well, that's what they did. They came in, they scared him to death, and said, oh, I'm not just going to leave. I'm not going to take your word for it. Pay me. So it was all about tribute and taxes. It's same thing today, isn't it? It's all about money. Look at it in chapter 17, verse 16. And they left all the commandments of the Lord their God. That's not a good sign. And made them molten images, even 2 calves, and made a grove and worshipped it, and the host of heaven, and served Baal. Oh. Now, I don't know why they're doing this. I know they've always had an attraction to demonic worship. However, there may be more to it than just that. They may be trying to make Assyria not view them as weird kooks, so they come in and destroy them. Assyria had all of these false gods. They understood false worship. So maybe Israel is thinking, well, if we appear like the other nations, we've got our own phony worship too, then they won't think we're so odd and wipe us out. Maybe that's some of it. Look at chapter 18. Chapter 18, verse 9. He says, And it came to pass in the 4th year of King Hezekiah, which was the 7th year of Hosea, son of Elah, king of Israel, that Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, came up against Samaria and besieged it. Okay, so he's coming in, he's besieging it, he's intending to starve them out. Chapter 18, look at verse 10. And at the end of 3 years, they took it. Could you imagine that? Being starved out for 3 years? That's a long time to be dying. I mean, in essence, that's what's going on. For 3 years, you can't get food. You can't go outside the city. I mean, talk about full of tumult. You'd be going stir crazy. He says, even in the 6th year of Hezekiah, that is the 9th year of Hosea, king of Israel, Samaria was taken. He got it. In Jeremiah 48:41, he says this, Kerioth is taken. That's east of the Jordan River. And the strongholds are surprised. And the mighty men's heart in Moab at the day shall be as the heart of a woman in her pangs. He says there's historically been some mighty fighting men just on the other side of the river over there in Kerioth. And this army that's coming in is so scary that they're shaking in their boots. like they're a bunch of little women. And he says it's as though they're having a child. They're in the birth pangs. Now, every time that birth pang reference comes up, it's always a reference to tribulation. That'll be its ultimate fulfillment, is in the tribulation. Kurioth, I didn't give you all the verses. Kurioth, anytime that reference comes up, that is a reference to Judas Iscariot. He's from Issachar. And that'll lead you back to Kurioth. It's satanic in origin. Look at 2 Kings 18, verse 33. Here's what Assyria does when they come in. The whole world is scared of them. They are the big bad bear, and they are literally capturing all the known world at the time. And it looks like nobody's going to escape them. 2 Kings 18:33. Their spokesperson comes up and says, "Hath any of the gods of the nations delivered at all his land out of the hand of the king of Assyria? Has anybody ever been able to escape me? No. So why do you think you're going to?" I've faced people who thought their gods were the ultimate God. You ain't no different. Now, don't your problems tell you that? Yeah, they will. They will. 2 Kings 19. 2 Kings 19, verse 11. This is a real prayer meeting. And this is what we have to do. When troubles strike, now, we read through our Bible, we really should read that Old Testament. The Old Testament, and put yourself in the scene. The Old Testament is a life and death situation. Our problem is, are we going to be able to get, a second refrigerator? Or, little things like that. But our problems have the same answer. It's the same thing. 2 Kings 19, verse 11, the prayer meeting. "Behold, thou hast heard what the kings of Assyria have done to all lands by destroying them utterly. And shalt thou be delivered? Have the gods of the nations delivered them which my fathers have destroyed in Gozan and Haran and Rizpah, and the children of Edom which were in Telassar? Where is the king of Hamath and the king of Arphad, and the king of the city of Sepharvaim of Havilah and Ivan?" He says, this is not the prayer meeting. This is the spokesperson coming in and trying to scare them. And this is what problems do. They show up and they give you all good reasons, don't they? He just listed off a ton of reasons why they should be scared. And it was reasonable. I mean, if you looked at it, he just named every city around them. He said, "I've just mopped the seaboard with everybody who ever thought they could stand before me, and I just took them out. You're going to be no different. Don't waste your time opposing me." Psalm 137. Psalm 137, verse 8. Now I've skipped over, but it's the same train of thought, the same ideas behind it. Assyria came in. Babylon is going to come in just like Assyria did, only Babylon is probably even more ruthless. Babylon is the one who conquers Assyria. So they're bad news too. Here's Babylon taking Judah, the southern kingdom. "O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed." Now, this is, I didn't read you the beginning of it. How's the beginning of that start? I didn't turn to it.
By the rivers of Babylon.
By the rivers of Babylon, there we
sat down, yea, we wept
when we
remembered God.
Okay, so they've been taken away captive, and this is the song they're going to sing. There they that carried us away captive required of us a song, and they that wasted us required of us myrrh, saying, "Sing us one of the songs of Babylon." So here's their song, verse 8. "O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed." That'd take some guts to sing that, wouldn't it? "Happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones." Whew. They're saying right there, we know what you've been doing to our children, dashing them against the stones, killing our kids. And one day it's going to turn around, and God's going to see to it that you reap what you've sowed. And it's going to happen in the tribulation, at Armageddon for sure. Isaiah 13. Isaiah 13:16. Is this speaker making noise?
No, it's a vehicle.
Oh, is that what it is?
You want us to go turn it down, Pastor?
Yeah, kick that vehicle out of here. Isaiah 13:16. If they're going to make noise, I got to come into church. Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. There are some tough things that have happened in this world that we know nothing of. He says right here, it's bad enough that the babies are getting destroyed, but it's going to be done right in front of their eyes. That's the way the armies were, just vicious. Their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver. As for gold, they shall not delight in it. So you won't be able to pay them off. They won't accept a bribe. Their boughs also shall dash the young men to pieces. They shall give no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. Whew. That sounds pretty rough, doesn't it? Until you start finding out how many children have been aborted in America by choice. Pretty bad. Jeremiah 13. Jeremiah 13:14. This dashing in pieces things is, it happens too often in the Bible to overlook. It's God warning Israel that the same will happen again. All of his punishments against Israel only increase. We figured it out however many fold it increases by the end of Daniel's 70th week. And so this is going to go on, but magnified, even greater than we read it here. Jeremiah 13:14. And I will dash them one against another, even the fathers and the sons together, saith the Lord. I will not pity, nor spare, nor have mercy, but destroy them. God's saying he's going to do it. Now he's going to use a heathen nation to do it with. In the tribulation, he's going to use the Antichrist to do it with. The devil doesn't get to do anything that he wants. He's serving at the command of God. Nahum chapter 3. Nahum 3 verse 10. Nahum 3 verse 10. Yet was she carried away. She went into captivity. Her young children were dashed in pieces at the top of all the streets. And they cast lots for her honorable men. That it was a game to them. They were playing pick-up sticks, and the winner gets to take the honorable men. And her great men were bound in chains. They come in. Now they did do this, and this is not just all the heathen nations did this, and you'll find this in ancient history. They would come in, they would destroy, and whoever was the mighty men in the ruling class, they would carry away as a slave, because that made an impression on the people of their hometown or whatever. When they came back and said, look, I've had all these mighty exploits, and I've got proof. Here's the king of such and such, and that's where Daniel comes in. The seed royal, they're taken away captive to show what a mighty man Nebuchadnezzar is. Hosea 10 verse 15. Hosea 10:15. So shall Bethel do unto you because of your great wickedness. In a morning shall the king of Israel utterly be cut off. He said, I'm going to take care of business, and I'm just going to do it real quick. I'm just done. I'm fed up. It's over. God took his time when he created the earth. He took 7 days and made everything nice and pretty. But it's always easier to destroy than it is to create. Don't make the Creator mad. If he decides he's going to be a destroyer, he can do that equally well. Hosea 10, verse 7. He says, as for Samaria, her king is cut off as the foam upon the water. We covered that passage before. That's how God does it. And we talked about foam. That's always a reference to something satanic. In Psalm 30, verse 5, he says this, for his anger endureth but a moment. Whew. So when God gets mad, in order to restrain himself from consuming all elements, he limits himself to only a moment's anger. Well, I don't know that if I was somebody who got caught in the flood in Noah's day, I would have thought that was for just a moment. But it says here, it's only for a moment. He says, in his favor is life. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. Of course, that's a prophetic reference to the tribulation. It's going to endure for the night. And in the end, that'll be their mourning is going to be turned to joy when the millennium is set up. Hosea 11:1, and we'll cover one verse, I guess. We'll try. Hosea 11:1. When Israel was a child, then I loved him, and called my son out of Egypt. This will be a good positive verse to end on. When Israel was a child, I loved him. He calls Israel, even though it's a whole nation, he's referring to it as a single individual. Because it's a picture of something. It's a picture of his son, Jesus Christ, that he's going to call out of Israel, which is also a picture to the nation. One day he's going to call them out again. Exodus 4, verse 22. Here's where this happened historically. Exodus 4:22. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith the Lord, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. So Moses walks into Pharaoh and says, God's claiming Israel is his son. You had better not mess with his son. You better let him go. Don't hold his son ransom. That's what Mexico is famous for. They go steal kids from rich families and hold them captive and get ransom money for them. Well, there's nobody richer than God. And how dare Pharaoh, at the instigation of the devil, hold captive God's son? And so no wonder God leveled a few punishments against Pharaoh. He was holding his son ransom. Look at it in Matthew 2. Matthew 2, verse 15. This is when Mary and Joseph run to Egypt because of the persecution. Matthew 2, verse 15. And was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet, saying, out of Egypt have I called my son. Obviously, Jesus Christ was not the nation of Israel, but he's referring back to a time that was in reference to the nation. So one is a picture and one is real. Okay? Look at it in Ephesians 2. Ephesians 2. Israel is always in opposition to Egypt. Those are two opposites you find as you read through your Bible. Egypt is a picture of the world and wickedness. When you got saved, God did the same thing for you. In order to make you his son, he called you out of this world system. Ephesians 2, verse 1. And you hath he quickened, who were dead in trespasses and sin, wherein in time past you walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience, among whom also we all had our conversation in time past in the lust of the flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature the children of wrath, even as others. the children of wrath would have indicated you were set to die. You remember what happened in Egypt? The last plague, the one that God finished it off with, his crescendo, was, I'm going to kill the firstborn of everything, beast and man. Now we think about that and we think, oh, that is sad. You know, he would come into a house and kill the little baby in the nursery. But it doesn't stop there. What if the father was the firstborn of his family? Dad's gone too. It's firstborn all across the board. Didn't put an age number on there. Firstborn, period. He's wiping them out. So for us, we should be destroyed too. We should have been the ones that were killed. But God's had mercy on us. We get the blood of Jesus Christ. And because of that, he'll pass over us. Jeremiah 42. Jeremiah 42, verse 13. But if you say, we will not dwell in this land, neither obey the voice of the Lord your God, saying no, but we will go in the land of Egypt, where we shall see no war, nor hear sound of tumult, sound of trumpet, nor have hunger or of bread, and there will we dwell. So what they're saying here is, we know where it's good. There's greener grass just across the border over there. So we'll run over there. Israel was wetbacks before Mexico was created. That's what they're saying. They're saying we know a good spot to go. It's safe in Egypt down there, and we'll just run down there. It's getting too hot in Israel. Y'all can have Canaan. We're out of here. He says, well, if you're going to think that, you better think again. Verse 15. And now therefore hear the word of the Lord, ye remnant of Judah. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, if ye wholly set your faces to enter into Egypt and go to sojourn there. Notice he said sojourn. They didn't go there to stay. They just wanted to go there to get out of the hot water, just to sojourn. Then it shall come to pass that the sword which ye feared shall overtake you there in the land of Egypt. And the famine whereof ye were afraid shall follow close after you there in Egypt. And there ye shall die. There's no safe spot on earth to flee from God.
Amen.
I counsel people this way. There is no perfect place. You can't, teenagers especially, you can't decide, okay, I'm going to go to this place and then I'll start serving God. I'm going to wait until this certain age and then I'm going to serve. There's no special magic spot. You better do it now in the place you are and then let him clean up the spot you're in. But we can't run to what we think is a safe spot. Then we're controlling everything. God doesn't want man having control of everything, and we want him to have control. He does a lot better job than we ever would. All right, we'll pick it up at Hosea 11:2. This is a fun one. I'll let you have a little homework assignment. Hosea 11:2. I'll just read this to you. As they called them, so they went from them. They sacrificed unto Baalim and burned incense to the graven images. There's too many personal pronouns in that to keep it straight. He says, as they called them, so they went from them. They sacrificed unto Baalim. Who's the they and them? Figure that out. It switches back and forth.